Call the board meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Lipke today.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Move.
We have a motion.
Yes.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I would like to take this opportunity to offer my deepest condolences to the family of Jennifer Moss, but I'd also offer my deepest condolences to the Nicollet County family, because we lost a Confederate, a friend, and a dedicated 20-plus year employee to our community and our county. So I would offer our thanks and our prayers for those that are mourning her passing. I'd like to continue on with the consent agenda. I'd entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So.
Second.
Second. We have motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I have an opportunity for public appearances. Observing the room, I see no face I don't know today. So, one more time for public appearances. Hearing none, we'll proceed with the agenda, and Public Works is our first in the barrel today. Mornings.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board and staff. One item from Public Works today, consider award a bid for project 52-601-23. Yesterday, we opened bids for this project at 11 o'clock in the morning. We had received one bid, and that bid was from Midwest Contracting. They submitted a bid of $165,662. That was well over our estimate of $92,760. I handed out an updated agenda item, and on the back of that it had the bid tab, so you can see individual pricing for the different components of the work. Some reasons why this bid probably came in much higher than the engineer's estimate. We have a project start date of September 30th, which is very close to the bid opening, so compressed time schedule. The contractors are, I'm guessing, basically full work for the year. They're behind on their work even from last year, and so they're continuing to catch up, and with wet conditions this spring, everything is delayed, so availability of contractors is one issue. And then we also gave a very narrow construction window to get this work done. And so if we were to reject the bid and re-advertise this project, I don't really anticipate that we'd see any improvement in our bidding results. And quite frankly, this project needs to be done. This is a federally funded project, and so I have some additional legwork to do with MnDOT and Federal Highway since our bid came in over the engineer's estimate. But my initial indications from Federal Highway and MnDOT is that they're not saying no to increasing the federal participation on this project. I've already sent in a letter basically explain our justifications why we think the bid came in over, and that we would still like to move forward with awarding this contract. So I'm asking the board today to consider a conditional award subject to MnDOT and basically Federal Highway approval of the bid for project 52-601-23 to Midwest Contracting for the bid amount of $165,662.
Entertain a motion.
I move to accept the question after.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, on that motion, do we want it subject to MnDOT?
That was going to be my question.
I
How do you make the motion then?
I think so.
Or do we want the flexibility if MnDOT says no, must, we still go ahead anyways with,
We can definitely do that if the board so chooses.
Could I
Let's discuss.
rephrase?
Let's have a little more discussion
I
first.
figured that's what the question was.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
that was my question, what Ryan asked.
okay. So the issue would be
Let's just
going forward, either way, regardless of this,
irregardless.
we need to execute this. It's gotta be done.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, the way I heard the initial motion, the request for the motion was on a proviso, and then assuming we don't want that proviso as part
I
of
don't.
the motion.
And the second?
So how would you like to proceed? Do you want to fail this motion and then come back again?
The way I heard the motion, Mr. Chair, was that that John moved to proceed with this, to accept this bid. I didn't hear a subject to MnDOT. Did you mean that?
No, I did not want that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is everybody clear on that issue, or do you have other additional questions? Marie, I saw you musing something there.
Oh, well, I think if you're gonna make the motion, you need to be specific on that up front all the time.
Right.
That was
Okay.
just not part of this discussion, but other discussions in life.
Okay.
Should we withdraw and rephrase?
Is everybody comfortable with the clarity that the motion is to proceed with the bid, period?
Period. Yes.
Is that consistent?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? Call the question.
Commissioner Lipke?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores?
Yes.
Chair Evans?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Seth, do you need any authorization to sign anything from MnDOT or Federal Highway if
Nope.
that does happen?
Nope, not at this time.
We're good.
Yep,
Okay.
nothing further.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, any updates on 14 or 12? I mean, they put the stakes out and they got ribbons on the trees now on 12.
Yeah, we were doing some staking just to figure out amount of tree removal and whatnot, but we're just in normal project development
Okay.
mode. We continue to work with our consultants on County Road 14 to develop the temporary remediation plans to protect that slide area, and that project we will anticipate trying to get done yet before winter. And so
Okay.
how this bid came in makes me a little bit nervous on what kind of prices we'll see for that work, but it's work that
Okay.
needs to be done to protect that area until we can do the final project sometime next year.
And I assume other counties and cities are running into the same difficulties we are with contractors.
Oh, I'm sure everybody's busy and trying to finish out their work that they have, and yeah, this isn't an opportune time or bidding environment to get good quality bids for work yet this year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Mr. Administrator, I believe you have an item for us.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The item today is for the board to consider setting the preliminary 2020 tax levy and then setting the 2020 levy and budget comment meeting. I've attached a resolution that sets a preliminary levy of $23,092,072 or a 5.25% increase. The resolution also sets Thursday, December 5th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. here in the boardroom as the tax levy and public comment meeting, formerly called the Truth and Taxation meeting. What I can do here is I do have some handouts from our budget discussions that I can briefly refresh everybody's memory on how we arrived at a 5.25 levy increase. Our total budget is $45.5 million projected for 2020. So about 51% of that is funded with tax levy. The remaining 49% is state, federal, and other fees. The 5.25% increase is primarily wages, benefits. We had a 10% health insurance increase, which accounts for 1% of that levy increase. And then we also added 3.5 full-time equivalent positions to the staffing next year. 2.5 of those positions are in health and human services, 1 is in technologies. These are areas where we've been adding in recent past staff based on need. I continue to see this being a need down the road. So that's, in a nutshell, really the what created that 5.25% levy increase. We did have, I do have examples listed here, one of the handouts. We did have overall growth in the county, an estimated market value of 2.62%, so that accounts for about half of the overall levy increase and really limits our overall tax rate increasing. We also had $39 million worth of new improvements, which of the $111,000 value change is 35% of that. So we had a lot of growth, especially in North Mankato this past year is where we had a lot of new improvements. The more growth we have, the bigger the piece of the pie is and how it gets spread out, the overall tax levy. Also impacting your individual taxes is value changes for your property. For 2020, we are seeing some value increases in a lot of residential property. Some will remain at 0. Commercial and industrial, for the most part, is going to go up in value, and ag land is remaining flat. The examples that we have in here show that a house with $150,000 market value with no value increase, their county taxes will only go up $8 for the year. A house with a 5% value increase, valued at $150,000, their taxes would go up $53 for the year. Commercial property, 6% increase, that was kind of an overall average for the county. Those property owners would see a $389 increase in county taxes. And if you own a house, garage, in 1 acre and 80 acres of tillable, you would see a $98 increase in your house and garage and only a $20 increase in ag. Again, ag land values remain flat, so with a 5.25% increase, there's virtually no impact to ag land as far as county taxes. The last handout I have shows which portion of the property taxes are paid by which property classification. Residential for 2020 will account for 52% of the overall county tax levy. Ag will be 33%, and commercial and industrial will be 15%. I looked back to 2015 when we had a large spike in ag land values, and those values were actually sales for 13, assessed in 2014, taxed in 2015. But that was the first year that we hit over $4 billion in property value for the county. Then ag accounted for 45% of the total tax bill. Commercial and industrial was 12%, and residential was 43%. So you can see how that shift has occurred in 5 years towards residential. The good news there is we have seen a growth in commercial, in industrial, helping to kind of even out these 3 pieces of the pie as far as who pays your county taxes. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and then would also recommend a motion to approve the 5.25% levy increase.
Mr. Chair, if I could, what would be the optimum on that pie?
I would say a third, and a third would be the ideal situation. That shows you would have a diversified tax base to help absorb shifts in taxes. Counties with regional centers tend to have more of that split. We have a pretty good diversified tax base here, all things considered. When you get out in western Minnesota and all ag counties, it's 85 to 90% ag is the tax base there.
Any other specific questions? I entertain a motion to pass the resolution.
I move.
We have a motion for the resolution. We have music. introducing. We need a second.
Second that, I guess, for discussion purposes.
Thank you.
Well, usually the budget committee does that, so.
Well, that's what
And the chair typically doesn't make the second. Sorry, left you out.
Happened in the past, so.
Well, hasn't with me. So here we go. We are now in discussion phase. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Well, I mean, Mr.
Okay.
Chair, you
Please.
folks at the Budget Committee had a chance to review it. The full board obviously went over this last week. In your deliberations, did you find that the chair or the department heads were frugal in their requests as they move forward with what their stated needs were for the county? Or how would you describe the requests of?
Well, I believe that the requests had merit, made sense, were covering areas that addressed the shortfalls that we've already identified. And those were some of the areas we were trying to do, because some of the requests for personnel were to fill voids that we already had in the system that we weren't being able to stay compliant with, or we weren't being able to have the resources in place to allow those individuals to do their specific jobs. We had higher class people doing jobs that were taking up too much time. And so that was specifically true in HHS, but it's also the same issue we have with having the resources. Because to make ourselves more efficient as a county, we've invested much more heavily in technology. In doing that, we also then need the supports of the technology personnel to keep this a secure network. And that's a big resource that we have to maintain. And we have a lot of masters that tell us how it needs to be done. So from a personnel hiring standpoint, absolutely, I think. We made recommendations based on that, and the rest of it was really housekeeping. The 10% bump in healthcare across the board is a significant number. But in the offset, we had, I think we were at about 2% last year is what we budgeted for. So in that regard, compared to some of the other boards I'm serving on, we had some that are seeing a 27% increase in their healthcare costs. So I think we've done very well, and I commend our staff for being very, what I feel, pretty frugal about what we're doing. Plus, it's the nature of what the services we're providing. I mean, we're providing resources to people. We're not making widgets, and it's kind of what we have to do.
On the insurance question, and Terry, were you on the insurance committee?
Mm-hmm.
So did we have an opportunity to buy down in past years, or what was the posture of where we were this year?
So I think I understand your question. As everybody knows, we're self-insured, and we get a recommended rate increase from our administrative provider, Health Partners, on where we should set our rates. We look at that each year, and they give us a range of expected claims to worst case scenario. We're funding the insurance fund at a couple $100,000 over the expected claims. Our expected claims are right around 4.3 million, and to give ourselves a little cushion to protect us from a worst case scenario, I believe we're going to fund it at around 4.5 million. Health insurance outside of wages is the second biggest budget item in our $45 million budget.
And the reason I bring it up, Mr. Chair, I just think publicly discussing this is very important.
Well, and so
Not many options.
you're absolutely right, and so people that need to understand the self-insurance, we carry that self-insurance level up to a point where we also, as part of our premium, pay stop-loss insurance. So if we have a huge, very, very significant claim, then outside insurer picks up that balance. But we try to keep that balance high enough that when we go into that overage claim gets very, very expensive the year after. And so it's trying to find that balance. Plus, we've invested as an organization a lot of money in having the employees understand the process, having healthy employees. Our human resources department has been doing, I think, a really great job of getting information out and getting participation. It's a new world in a lot of respects, so that participation is very important. It keeps our employees healthier and arguably has an impact on our long-term cost. So yes.
I'm ready to
Long
support
answer.
it.
Mr. Chair, I was just gonna add to Jack's question. The chair and I did not say yes to every request that came from the departments. So,
We tried to find a balance,
Yes.
and that was the recommendation coming forward.
yeah, yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
was there any discussion to buy down that 10% increase with reserves from the health insurance fund?
No.
We've done that in the past.
I know we've done that in the past,
Level
but
out those
with the
increases.
recommended particular, we're seeing a slight uptick in certain claims. That's why we originally discussed that that was probably not in our best interest at this time, but.
Yeah, to address that, I think I would recommend when that day comes when we get another 20+% increase, which we had 5 years ago maybe.
Yeah.
That's when we bought down then on the real large increases, so.
And I think that was also the result of a couple of heavy-duty stop-loss claims. Well, it was in that period, so.
It's just like your personal insurance, when you use it, it helps you out for the short term, but you pay for it on the
Right.
back end, so.
I'll call the question.
It's a resolution, so please call it.
Commissioner Colars?
Yes. Well, I think
I think it was Commissioner
Commissioner
Lipke.
Lipke?
Lipke was first.
Commissioner Lipke?
Yes.
Commissioner Grinnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Colars?
Yes.
Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Chair Kent?
Yes, thank you. And we are going to, with the kind permission of the board, and since not everyone is here, I'd like to proceed on with the rest of our meeting. We have some informational items that you'd like, or did you have anything, Brian?
Nothing else today.
Okay. Commissioners' reports. Let's start with Commissioner Lipke today.
Okay, well, I was at that budget meeting that all of us attended. I went to the soil and water meeting in Nicollet, and I went to the Hawk Creek Open House up in Renville on Friday, and they had the state DNR lead climatologist there, and it was very interesting. And I went to the fireworks at Herman Fest Saturday night and sat with Commissioner Berg from Nicollet County, so we talked county stuff for an hour and a half.
Commissioner Moore.
In addition to the budget meeting, we had the Project 33 meeting, and just like to commend folks on a wonderful rock band festival this weekend at the new pavilion.
And they set a record, as I understand, for attendance. so-
Even with the weather, it was
Even with the
nice.
weather, people wanted to come and see it all, right? Okay. Commissioner Drill.
Nothing that already hasn't been mentioned.
And I think that's gonna be Commissioner Kolar's report also. And my report would include the budget meeting along with everybody else, plus the Finance Committee at MRCI. We had a long gap, but the holiday kind of constrained some of our normal business activities. Did you have anything additional you'd like to add, Commissioner Kolars, to your report? We already made a report for you, but in case you need to defend your honor, we give you this opportunity.
You mean the commissioner reports?
Yes, yes.
Wow, did you report this? County budget on the 28th of?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have nothing. Well, I have several things, but nothing to add.
Okay.
Thank you for taking the time.
We're just, I'd entertain a commissioners' meetings and conferences. We are moving forward. I think everybody's already registered for the Alexandria Conference, those that are attending. And we continue to move forward on registrations and or issues with regard to the annual conference, which is December 11th, I think, 9th through the 11th.
Mr. Chair, if board members could let Abby know by our next meeting date, ideally, if you're planning to go, and she'll register you and hold your rooms.
Okay.
As I mentioned to you, rooms
St.
were
Paul again?
quite yet, so I would like to get us nailed down and then we can release rooms for our fellow commissioners around the state.
Perfect.
Mr. Chair, I haven't had an opportunity to send a note to AMC after hearing what Abby went through yesterday and trying to get rooms and wondering if they pre-booked, if people were allowed to pre-book. I've not heard back from them, but that put us in a tough position. And so thank you, Abby, for trying to get that scheduled, but that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that was unique. I've never
Right.
seen it like that before.
I'd entertain a motion to approve per diems and expenses.
I'll move.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn the commissioners' meeting. We will immediately convene our drainage authority meeting after that.
Move to adjourn.
We have
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The meeting, commissioners' meeting is adjourned. We're gonna continue on, Abby, while we're still on record. I would like to call the Drainage Authority meeting to order. Our business item, we have a consent agenda item, which was the approval of the minutes from August 27th. I'd entertain a motion for same.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, our next order of business, this portion of the meeting is closed for attorney-client privilege pursuant to Minnesota Chapters 13D to discuss potential litigation regarding the improvement project on Nicollet County Ditch 62A. We are now back in open session of the Drainage Authority. Do we have any other business you need to conduct?
Mr. Chair,
Ma'am?
at this time, I'd like to make a motion to terminate the contract with Hutton, whatever their name is these days, in regards to the 62A project.
Do we have a second?
Did you want to wait to see if we,
No?
open the door?
Signs off the door.
You want to open it?
No. I didn't know the sign was removed, so I apologize.
Do we have a second? One more time, do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. I hear no discussion.
Mr. Chair, I'm frustrated too, but I think I should go with what Seth and Roger recommend, and that's wait another week or two. Is that kind of the way you're looking at it?
I
Our turn.
would recommend voting against the motion at this time.
Mr. Chair, I think there's some potential ambiguity regarding the specifications. I think that's ambiguity needs to be clarified. I think there is, we have to make clear that there are other items that need to be done pursuant to the contract. So I wouldn't call it waiting another week or so, but rather getting responses on those items.
Mhm.
But the window's closing.
Very well put, Terry.
Mr. Chair, we
Ma'am.
had a contract with specifications. The contractor was giving adequate timeline to do those specifications and to do this project. They have not been able to do that in this 2-year period, or 2.5-year period. All we do is keep dancing around the issues here and nothing is getting done to the contract specifications or to the timeline of the contract. We've spent over $2 million on this project and it is not done yet. It doesn't appear that it's ever going to finish or finish satisfactory at this point. At some point, we need to cut the anchor and let him sink, and it's time.
Yes, and Mr. Chair, I think we heard from the landowners and their tremendous frustration at a meeting here a couple, 3 months ago. And I'm listening to our staff in the highway department and ditch authority. I haven't seen them this frustrated about a project in a long time. So I will support the motion that we have, and we'll see where it goes.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
this may be a question for county staff. Is work ongoing on the open ditch?
Today?
Within the last week?
Yesterday there was work in the morning when I drove by.
But again, if it's not seeded, we're back in square one next spring.
Do you have anything else, John? I thought I saw
No,
a
I
question.
mean,
Call the question.
Roll call.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Kohler?
Yes.
Commissioner Lutke?
no,
Commissioner Harrell?
No.
Chair Kent?
No. Motion fails.
Move to adjourn?
second.
We have a motion, we have a second for adjournment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for all your time and your patience.
Thank you.